You got Auburn to a Final Four for a second time. Auburn had never been to a Final Four before. When you got to that program, did you see that kind of potential?
No, I didn't. It's just, Jimmy, God is good. I mean, had a plan, and we just seemed to follow it and fell into it, and just feel so blessed and so fortunate. So I love Auburn. It's a great place, great people, and I know it's funny because a lot of folks in Tennessee, they send their kids down to Auburn, and it's a school that has grown in popularity. It's conservative. That whole Auburn family thing is for real. I knew that because the league was getting better and better, that if you could be competitive in the league, which I always thought we could be, then all of a sudden that made you competitive nationally.
Well, I want to jump to that because 10 years ago, the SEC had 3 teams in the NCAA tournament. Now you had 14. What's the difference? Is it better coaching? Is it getting better talent? What's been the key?
Well, I think the key has been the commitment from the league and the athletic directors, everybody. They've invested in basketball. Tennessee's invested in basketball. They've invested with the arena, and they've invested with Pratt Pavilion. They've invested with Coach Barnes and his staff, and you got one of the best coaches in history of college basketball coaching Tennessee right now. And so, it's an investment. Auburn made an investment in me, in my staff, and Neville Arena and things like that. We've all also committed to NIL. And that's something that, again, the athletic directors and the fan bases of these institutions deserve credit for. We had 14 teams in the SEC tournament. We had the 4 top seeds in the SEC tournament, Tennessee, Alabama, Auburn, and Florida, all got to the Elite Eight. 2 teams got to the Final Four. Florida won the national championship. And it was because of a commitment, obviously across the board. So we talked at these meetings about, okay, now how do we keep that? How do we work so hard to get to where we are? And we were the best league in the country. We were the best league in the history of college basketball. Now, are we going to stay there? Are we going to figure out a way through this collective bargaining or NIL or whatever, however they're doing it, to make sure they continue to invest in basketball? Or is it just going to wind up being a football conference again?
Gambusa's Barbershop, Knoxville's award-winning barbershop where traditions and trends blend. You can get classic cuts to razor-head shaves to contemporary styling, all at a great price. You'll leave feeling great and looking even better. Gambusa's Barbershop, where men belong. Are you confident that the SEC can, I don't know about match, but come close to matching what you did as far as getting 14 teams in the tournament again?
Well, I don't know that when you make history like that, it's not about matching it, but it's about maintaining a level of competitiveness. And I think at the end of the day, come March of 2026, are we going to be able to retain our rosters, and are we going to have the same resources that they're going to have in the Big East without football? Yeah. Right. Are we going to have the same resources that, let's say, 2 or 3 teams in the ACC that are known for dominating basketball programs, or 2 or 3 teams in the Big 12 that are known for dominating basketball programs, who aren't going to spend as much in some of the other sports? We're not going to be able to compete with that unless we figure something out.
You seem to have done it with transfers and really good high school recruiting. Is that the formula?
Yeah, you gotta have, it is. I would say getting older is a formula. I think, Jimmy, the other thing, too, is it's about retention. If you look at Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, and Auburn, the 4 top teams in the league last year, all 4 of us retained a good portion of our rosters. And that's been the real key. Now, I lost everybody. I got maybe one coming back into Todd Pettifor if he, as of this conversation, comes back. That'll be one. I've never had to replace 12 guys. Now we had 9 guys graduate, and so I only had a couple kids transfer. But replacing a whole roster when it's been retention that has won championships, this will be by far my greatest challenge.
Is there encouragement in that Kentucky and Arkansas remade their rosters last year, and both of them made the NCAA tournament?
They did, but they didn't win championships, and they both had good teams. They had great rosters, great talent. But yeah, it'll be a real challenge. But look, I'm meeting my team on Friday of this week. Here we are, at the SEC media days, and we're here for a few days at the same time our guys come in. And one thing I'm going to say from the very, very beginning is I'm going to let them know how daunting a task this is going to be. But I like the kids. I like some of the personalities. I like some of the work ethic. I think my coaching staff has done a pretty good job given what our resources have been, and I would imagine that we're going to be competitive again.
You had one of the best players in the country last year in Janai Broom. You get him from Morehead State.
Mm-hmm.
He was ranked the number 471st prospect in the country coming out of high school. Did you see a great amount of potential in him when you got him from Morehead State?
I saw potential. I don't think I saw him being a college player of the year like he became. He's an old school guy, big, strong, back to the basket player with great footwork and great hands, and if he touched it down there, he felt we're going to score, or he's going to make a great pass inside out, and he's going to get to the foul line. He just did a great job for us, and I would say Jimmy, historically could go down as one of the best transfers in college basketball history. And certainly, you know me, I love those guys that are hungry and humble, and guys that have got a chip on their shoulder, and our teams are sort of built that way. Coach Barnes, has gotten the same thing. Great players that weren't the most highly ranked kids, but knew and believed that they, look at Zakai Zeigler. He was one of the greatest players, to play in the SEC. And look, I remember him at Peach Jam, and he was a really undersized two-guard that could shoot it, but, obviously had some real challenges when Coach got him late in that recruiting year, and then he became one of the best point guards in the SEC.
Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, voted the best and favorite jeweler every year. These folks are real jewelers, master craftsmen, quality jewelry, unique designs, smart designs, very knowledgeable, friendly, and helpful. Serving West Knoxville for 39 years. We want to be your jeweler. Fleet Tire has been serving Knoxville's tire needs for over 40 years with the best quality tires available, including Michelin and Bridgestone. Owned and operated by Tennessee grads, their tires may not be orange, but their blood sure runs orange. For the best tires made with the best prices, see Fleet Tire. Zeigler's appeal for a fifth year of eligibility through the courts. Would you like to see college athletes getting 5 years of eligibility?
Yeah, I would, but I think that I would not like, for example, if Zakai Zeigler goes that route and wins that case, what about the 8 guys that I had last year that didn't go to the courts to get that year back? And certainly I do think it's possible they're going to have 5 to play 5, but I don't think they should change the rules at the end of the day.
You mentioned Rick Barnes. There was a time when Tennessee pursued him, and he said that he didn't think that Tennessee was investing in basketball. And then you showed what Tennessee could be in basketball. That piqued his interest to come to Tennessee. So you are part of the reason Rick Barnes is at Tennessee.
Yeah, no, and I'm grateful to be a part of that whole equation. Because Coach, I've always looked at Rick Barnes as a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Fame man. He's a Hall of Fame person. He's a Hall of Fame teacher. And he's done it longer and better than I did at Tennessee. I got it started. But I will tell you this, Jimmy, it's easier to get it going than it is to keep it going. And the fact that Coach Barnes has kept it going and continued to take it to another level and been to 2 Elite Eights now and won a bunch of championships. So I love Rick, and we have great mutual respect for one another. And, that's one of the great things about my time at Tennessee will be this. I had a chance to coach alongside Pat Summitt. I had a chance to coach alongside Philip Fulmer. And those are 2, like I said, legendary people and legendary Hall of Fame people and Hall of Fame coaches, and to have earned both of their respect. One of my greatest achievements in coaching, and something that I will always be grateful that Tennessee gave me that opportunity.
I got one other question for you. So you got Auburn to its first Final Four. It was Alabama got to Final Four recently. South Carolina a few years ago got to Final Four. Tennessee, with its tradition, has never made a Final Four. It's one of 5 SEC schools that hasn't. Nobody has a better insight on that program than you do. What's kept Tennessee from getting there?
Oh, I don't know. I think you got to keep knocking the door down. You keep knocking the door, you knock on the door, and then you get there. A lot of it has to, I'll tell you, Jimmy, like, for example, this past NCAA tournament, my first one in 2019, we had to go through Kansas, North Carolina, and Duke. We had to go through all the top seeds. And this year, we had to go through the top seeds as well. The difference, though, was once we beat Creighton in the Sweet 16, and Creighton could have upset us. We could have been an easy knockout in that 1-8 game. because Creighton was dangerous. They had been to 4 out of the last 5 Sweet 16s. They're incredibly well coached, and that was a really tough draw for the number one overall seed in college basketball to have to play the Louisville Creighton winner. Yeah. But I knew that in Atlanta, we were better than Michigan and Michigan State, and I say that of all due respect, in the sense that we won 2 games to go to the Final Four, but we were the better team. We were more talented. We were a little deeper, and we were playing close to home. And so when we beat Creighton, I knew we had a chance to go. When we had beaten Kansas to get to North Carolina and Kentucky in Kansas to go to the Final Four, that was a tough draw. Tennessee's had some tough draws. They've not been upset necessarily to get to the Final Four. It's really hard, and so don't really have an explanation.
Bruce, I appreciate it.
Appreciate you too, Jimmy. Thanks, my friend.
Thank you.